up as making an appearance in this one, since it's a bit of a less formal, more relaxed topic today. And just to prove that I do actually have one when I'm making these videos, and encourage you to have one too while you're watching. With lockdown in the UK continuing in the immediate future, I was asked, how am I coping with it all? The word coping suggests that this is something which is difficult and requires strength and fortitude to overcome. Now, I do not doubt that for many that is their experience of lockdown, and I do want to acknowledge that. I also, however, need to be honest and say that my experience of lockdown is not that this is something I need to cope with. In fact, I am quite enjoying some of the opportunities this situation brings. I therefore wanted to share my experiences with you in today's Saturday and tomorrow's Sunday special. Today will be a bit more light-hearted as I share what it's like for me to be living in lockdown. Tomorrow we'll go back to something more serious as we reflect together on what we can learn from lockdown. First of all, what is it like for me to work in lockdown? Well, there's a silly reputation that ministers only work on a Sunday, and with Sunday services now suspended, we're basically all on paid leave. Well, on behalf of me and my colleagues, I would gently suggest that it's never really a good idea to say to ministers, oh, it's fine for you, you only work a Sunday. Not even as a joke. The reality is that most ministers work hard and are worked hard. Yes, some of what we do is never seen, but that doesn't mean we're not working. For many ministers, myself included, lockdown has not decreased our workload. For many of us, we have seen our workloads increase, but it's our output that decreases. With many now engaging in online ministry and having to very quickly come up with new and creative ways to share the good news of Jesus and demonstrate his love through the church's work, we are having to think, plan and prepare as never before. Yet the fruits of our labours seem somewhat diminished. For example, I can put several hours' work into a sermon and know the impact of it because I actually see the people during Sunday worship. Now, I can put several hours of work into a series of videos and post these online. But apart from counting the number of views, I really have no clear indication of the impression these videos make. This was summed up in a meme that I saw doing the rounds, which I'll put up for you now. And if I manage to do that successfully, then that shows my video editing skills are improving. It reads, church staff and volunteers trying to calculate how and why no church buildings plus no in-person meetings plus quarantine equals twice as much work. That is the reality of many ministers at present. Yet what I am finding is that although I am working longer hours than before, I've been surprised to find much of the work to be life-giving rather than exhausting. But I will explore this more tomorrow as we reflect on learning from lockdown. Thankfully, I do more than just wake up, work and sleep. And that's really what I wanted to share in this video. The things I'm doing which aren't work and are helping me live in lockdown. And it might even give you some ideas of things that you could do yourself. First of all, I am really fortunate to have recently become a dad. My daughter was born a couple of months ago, and in many ways she has been a wonderful distraction from a lot of what's going on. It is a really rewarding thing to have another life which is dependent upon your time and attention, and although she gets most of that from my wife, I'm able to contribute much more because I'm at home much more. In some ways, lockdown has felt a bit like someone giving me the gift of some extra paternity leave. After my daughter's birth, I got 4 weeks off, 2 paternity leave, 2 annual leave. And I'll be honest, I wasn't exactly thrilled about returning to work as I felt I was being taken away from something really precious, and I was disappointed to think of how much I was going to miss in terms of my daughter's development. So being in lockdown at the moment is a bit of a blessing for us as a family, as it's meant I am able to give much more to childcare, and I've been able to watch more closely and marvel at our daughter's development. And she may only be a couple of months old, but it's amazing to see how much she has grown already. I should say that we are very fortunate that she is so young. She isn't climbing the walls because she can't go outside, and she won't remember any of this when she is older. I certainly sympathise with parents who have children that are a bit older and therefore need more stimulation and more management during the day, as I imagine that must get quite exhausting quite quickly, no matter how delightful your child is. Hobbies are also really important. Just in case the bookshelves behind me aren't a big enough clue, I enjoy reading. One of the benefits of lockdown is I've had more time for reading. Normally, I would use what precious little time I had for reading to stick with a fiction book to help me relax and unwind. As I've been carving up my days differently and working to a different routine, I've been managing to actually read some of the theology books behind me, which has been a real blessing. Again, I'll say more about that tomorrow. But I do find reading to be a relaxing and therapeutic pursuit, and one which I highly recommend. Now, here is where I really reveal my personal side to you as I share the next thing I've been doing to keep myself going during lockdown. I paint models, specifically Warhammer models. I've got two kinds, Warhammer 40,000 and the Lord of the Rings. I've got my paint station set up in my study so that when I have a spare moment, I can sit and paint. Again, I find this really therapeutic, being able to just stick on some music or a YouTube video and focus on something small and detailed. What I've decided to do with this is set myself targets. I want to get a certain number of models painted and finished by the time lockdown is over. Setting myself goals is another thing which is helping me with lockdown, as outside of working it gives me a purpose and something to aim for. Not only do I paint these models, I also play with them, and that is something I'm missing at the moment, getting to meet with my friends, set up our painted miniatures and play a game of Warhammer. On the bright side, however, when this is over, I'm going to have some newly painted models that I can bring and use in our next game. I think having a hobby or two is really important, as it helps engage our minds in creative ways. Some might call it sad that I paint models, but frankly I don't care. It helps me and I enjoy it. And you shouldn't care either. Find a hobby that helps you, and don't worry what other people think. I've been really excited hearing about all the creative things people are doing now that they have the time and space in lockdown, so maybe you could find something too. It's also important to take advantage of the times when we can get outside. As a family, we've been going for our daily walk in the evening, and it's good for us all to get out of the house and walk. I enjoy walking at the best of times, and again, I'd highly recommend this. Even going on a walk on your own just gives that sense of space for thinking, which can be helpful. One final thing helping me live in lockdown is remembering that this won't last forever. Earlier this week I conducted a funeral service, which is not the most pleasant aspect of my job, and the current restrictions make it even more difficult. The reading the family selected was from Ecclesiastes chapter 3, which reads, "There is a time for everything, and a season for every activity under the heavens. A time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to uproot, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to tear down and a time to build up, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to love and a time to hate, a time for war and a time for peace. I reflected that the writer here poetically captures the changing reality of life. While we might think change as a negative thing, I see it in this instance as a positive. It reminds us that even the worst of circumstances do not last and will give way to something better. Christians certainly believe this. Our broken world will one day pass away, and thanks to Christ, we will rise again in a new world where the pain and suffering of this world is ended. We live with God, with Christ, and all who are faithful to him in the way that God always intended. This hope has been known to help people even in the darkest of circumstances. I hope some of these thoughts have been helpful, however you are finding lockdown. And if you are struggling, please know that you are not alone. Reach out to someone who I'm sure will help you, even me. Above all, I pray that God might bless you with the hope he has on offer. Truly, may he bless you this day, and I'll speak to you soon.